Hey, welcome to Kitty Goes Down the Rabbit Hole, where I talk about all the random things that I come across in my travels on the interwebs. And today, let's talk about The Untamed. Now, I discovered The Untamed after YouTube decided to recommend me all these Untamed crack videos before they actually recommended the series itself, which was really fun. I went into it not knowing anything about Chinese costume dramas or stories about cultivation or anything like that. So I watched the series on YouTube. There are about 50 episodes and they're around 45 minutes each. There's also a special edition, which is 20 episodes and they're around an hour each. I recommend starting with the original version because the way the timeline and the story flows is a bit different how the special edition presents it. So I think it would be a good idea to start there first. That one follows the novel a little more closely in the flow of the story. You can also watch the original on Netflix. The Untamed is a boys' love story that started as a novel. I've heard it referred to as the Master of Diabolism and the Master of Demonic Cultivation as well. So that's more what the Chinese name of the novel translates into. The TV show is called The Untamed. So the story is basically about the relationship of two cultivators. So we have Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian. I hope I said those correctly. As they solve a mystery. Their dynamic is so much fun, both to watch and to read. It's hilarious, the exchanges between those two. So I watched the show before I read the novel, and I will say that they did an excellent job of conveying the story. They were really true to the original novel, although due to Chinese censorship laws, they weren't able to show explicit BL content. They managed to convey their relationship in such a beautiful and subtle way. They told the story between the lingering glances, the feelings left unspoken. It was just so beautifully done. I thought the costumes were beautiful, the world building. I'm not even going to attempt to explain cultivation, but the show, I think, does a really good job of also explaining that world as well. If you go in, like I did, not knowing anything about cultivation, you'll still be able to follow the story and you'll still be able to kind of understand how that works in a fundamental way. What I think made it easier too is that each cultivation sect had their own color scheme. From their costumes to where they lived, you could always tell which group a character was from based on their clothing. So I thought that was really well done. There are a lot of characters, so it's a lot easier to follow if you have a visual cue of who goes where. And who's related to whom and all of that. So the costumes were beautiful. So this show had a fairly low budget, and while I am quite impressed with what they managed to pull off with that budget, it does show in certain instances. So the makeup and the special effects weren't as realistic as what I'm used to. Doesn't mean they're bad or the worst or the show is trash because of that. It just wasn't as realistic. Some of the wire work was a bit obvious, and I know people aren't really floating in the air or anything like that. Some instances they weren't really smooth, although some instances, they were stunning. So Lan Wangji's introduction is top notch. That was it was just so aesthetically pleasing. And some of the fight scenes just seemed kind of sparse. Like they just didn't have a lot of people in the shots. It didn't really bother me too much. I just kind of read it as, well, they're cultivators. Not everyone is a cultivator. You wouldn't have this like massive number of people. So maybe that's where those fight sequences are a little more sparse. I think practically as well. I mean, there's a lot of wire work in those battle sequences too. So having people like flipping all over the place, and that gets pretty difficult when you have more people. Now, when it comes to the acting, I think that is probably the most interesting thing. They had such a huge cast of characters, and all of their acting styles were a bit different. So we had some characters that were overacted and melodramatic, and then you had like the, action movie kind of style, and it was just so entertaining to watch all of these characters interact with each other, and it worked. To me, they didn't really clash. The different like acting styles, one being melodramatic and one being a little bit more serious and grounded, they didn't clash at all because of the characters. I think they all brought their characters to life in such an amazing way, and I can't really unsee these actors as these characters. That goes like across the board. What I found fascinating is that I did not realize at first that they use voice actors. I had no idea. It was only after I watched a review by Avenue X. I'll link her down below. She does all different reviews on C-dramas. So I watched her videos covering the Untamed, and I didn't know that they were voice actors. Because it's so seamless. They did such a great job conveying like the emotion of the scene. I know sometimes when you watch something that's dubbed, you're just like, that doesn't fit what I'm seeing on screen. Like there's just this dissonance. But with the Untamed, it was great because I had no idea. It was perfectly seamless. They did a great job with that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Untamed. I have now watched the show, I have read the novel, and I'm up to date on the comic version that is on the WeComics app. So I hope you like this video and you give the Untamed a try. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. So wherever you are, stay safe and love you guys. Bye!